Hi everyone, today we are going to learn a little bit more about bar graphs, and we are going to create a bar graph with our data we collected from yesterday. But before we create our bar graph, we're going to learn a little bit more about it, and we're going to read this book called Bar Graphs. This book is an informational text. It is nonfiction. You can see here that it has a table of contents, and in the table of contents, it tells us what is a bar graph, how to graphing food. So let's read a little bit more and learn about bar graphs. What is a bar graph? Are there things you want to count and compare? A bar graph can help. It's a type of number picture. A bar graph can show if your class has more girls or boys. Bar graphs can also show how things change over time. A bar graph can show you how much you've grown. Do you know more about bar graphs? Let's go. A bar graph has many parts. So this is what you really need to know when you're doing a bar graph. So bar graphs will always have a title. So the title of this graph is My Class. It's important to keep the title of your bar graph pretty simple because you don't want it to be a really long sentence, but you also don't want it to just be one word. A bar graph tells the reader what a bar graph is about. Another part of your bar graph is the bars. So how many were counted? So these bars are the same colors, but they don't always have to be the same color. And if you look, in this class, there are boys. How many boys are in the class? 12. It goes up to 12. How many girls are in the class? 9. There are 9 girls in the class because the bar goes up to the number 9. The next part about the graph is the label. These are also very, very important when you are making a bar graph. A label tells you what types of things you counted. So in this case, the teacher was recording how many boys were in the class and how many girls. Labels are simple and should usually be about 1 or 2 words. The next part here is the label of the bottom. So down here it just says students. So we were testing to see how many boys and girls there were. We don't really use the word scale in first grade, but this is a good word to learn. So a scale is just how many. So you can see here on the bar graph it started with 0 and it goes all the way up to 13. Now in some graphs they will skip by 2s or 5s, but for our graphs we're just going to label them by 1s to keep it nice and easy for us. And on the side here it says number of students. You don't have to label on the side in first grade, but if you'd like to, that would be a nice addition to your graph. A bar graph uses bars or rectangles to show amounts. Each bar stands for data. In some bar graphs, the bars are vertical. They go from top to bottom. In the other bar graphs, the bars are horizontal. They go from side to side. The bars in a graph can be the same color, different colors, or different patterns. So, what kind of things can we graph? Let's find out. So, we are not going to do this part, so I might skip some of the pages. I just want to read the important information. Chapter 2, Graphing Balloons. Let's have a party. There are all kind of things we can count and compare. We have balloons for the party. We can make a bar graph to compare how many of each color we have. First, we can make a tally chart. To tally is to count. Use a tally chart to track what you count. This is a great way to collect data for our graph. So yesterday, we created our own tally chart. The colors of our balloons are listed to the left. So you can see here, their tally chart looks a little bit different than ours, but it's pretty much the same. So they have the labels here for the colors. They tallied here. That's what we did. The one thing that we did not do that you might have done on your own is by labeling the total with a digit on the side. Each color has its own row. We make a tally mark or line for each balloon we count. The fifth mark goes across the other four. Next, we count the tally marks in each row. We write the numbers in the chart. So let's look at this chart together. How many blue balloons are there for the party? 4. How many red balloons are there? 7. Good. How many yellow balloons are there? Good. There are 3, and they use the tally chart just like us. Now let's make a bar graph. We'll use the vertical bars. The names of the colors go across the bottom. Each color will have a bar. We will write numbers along the side. The data from our tally chart tells us how many balloons of each color we have. That tells us how tall to make the bars. Our bar graph shows there were more red balloons than blue. What else does it show? How many yellow balloons were there? So they took their data from this chart here. So remember, there were 4 blue balloons. And you can look here on their bar graph, how many did they put? 4. They put their bar up to the 4. So they really just took the data from their tally chart and added it to this nice bar graph. They also put the labels up top for the title, which is Party Balloons, and they labeled it down below with the colors. Chapter 3, Graphing Food. We need food for the party. Let's make fruit salad. We have apples, bananas, and oranges and strawberries. Let's count how many pieces we have for each type of fruit. We can compare the amounts in a bar graph. We collected our data in a tally chart. It shows how many pieces of each fruit we have. Let's make a bar graph using this data. So I want you to take this time right now to pause the video, and I want you to say out loud how many each of these fruits have. Apples have 6, bananas have 4, oranges have 4, and strawberries have 10. Let's use horizontal bars this time. The names of the fruits go along the side, the numbers go along the bottom. So this is the same information from the tally chart, it's just rotated horizontally. This is also another great way that you can show a bar graph. It doesn't matter which way you do it. You can do it horizontally or you can do it vertically like the first way. Okay, and last part of our book, I did skip through a few pages, but that's okay. If you'd like to read this book, you can find it on Epic if you'd like to read the rest of it. So up here we have the glossary, and the glossary tells us important words from the book. We have bar, data, horizontal, label, scale, tally chart, tally mark, title, and vertical. Now we're going to use all our knowledge and create a bar graph using our data we collected from yesterday. So go ahead and pull that out. Pause the video to get your materials ready. You're going to need another piece of paper and a pencil and some crayons. All right, on your piece of paper, I want you to make a big capital L. We are going to use this to make our bar graph. Now what we're going to do is I want you to label your sides so you can do little dash marks. This is kind of like a number line. I am going to skip ahead because this is going to take me a while to do this, but I want you to go ahead and make your dash marks. You might want to make them, maybe make 20 and then unpause the video when you're ready. Okay, so I went ahead and I made mine. I made mine up to 15. I told you to do 20, but if you did 15, that's okay too. So now what we have to do is put our labels at the bottom. So down here on the bottom, you are going to write the 3 categories that we did. Try not to write them too big. You can also write them sideways if you need to. So pause the video and you are going to write the labels down at the bottom. So one should say bath, one should say toilet, and one should say sink. Okay, now that you have your labels on the bottom, we are going to start filling in our data. So I hope that you collected data yesterday and got as much as you could. I do understand if you didn't get a lot, but hopefully you got enough to show some good data. So I'm going to start first with the sink. So yesterday I was counting, and I was counting just for me by myself, and I used the sink 11 times. So I'm going to go and I'm going to draw a line all the way up to 11 and make a rectangle that goes down. So you can do that too. And I think I'm going to change my colors. And you don't have to, only if you want to. Next time was toilet. So I used the restroom yesterday when I was counting 10 times. And you can fill out yours. Pause the video if you need some more time. And then shower, I already took a shower, so I just went ahead and counted that one, and I counted my one from this morning, so that was just 2 showers. So now that you've had your data created like this, you can color it in if you'd like. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. And finally, what we need to add is a title to our graph. So I want you to think of a good title that this could be about. So we want to show our reader or whoever's looking at our graph what this graph is about, because if they just look and see sink, toilet, bath, we might not know what that means. So we need to think of a good title. Pause the video and think of a title for your graph. So I know that the reason we did this was to see how much water we are using throughout the day. So I'm going to title my graph that. So how much water I use a day. That could be a good name for a graph. And of course, you just put it right up top. And I also like to underline mine just to show that it's the title. So once you have done this, you made your bar graph. How cool! If you would like to challenge yourself a little more, I want you to, on the bottom of yours, tell me, what did you use the most and what did you use the least? And then I want you to show us your bar graph on Flipgrid. I am really excited to see your graph. I am so proud of your hard work. So go ahead and upload a picture or a video of this onto Flipgrid so we can all see your bar graph. See you later, guys. Good job today.